Have you ever found yourself lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering when it all started to change? You still love your partner. You still crave a connection, but something feels different. The spark's dimmer. Your body doesn't respond the way it used to, and the more you try to ignore it, the heavier it seems to sit in your chest like a silent question. You're afraid to say out loud, "Is it just me, or is something wrong?" If you've felt that way lately, I want you to know you are not alone. This isn't a failure. It's not weakness. And it's certainly not the end. For so many men, changes in intimacy after 60 are common, but most don't talk about it. And that silence can feel heavier than any symptom. But here's the good news: life in intimacy after 60 doesn't have to fade. In fact, this chapter can bring a deeper kind of closeness, strength, and peace. When you learn how to work with your body, not against it, small shifts in how you move, think, connect, and care for yourself can make a world of difference, not just in the bedroom, but in how fully you live each day. In today's video, we're going to explore 7 powerful truths that most older men never hear, but wish they had known sooner. These aren't complicated routines or awkward advice. They're simple, science-backed insights that can help you feel more confident, more connected, and more alive. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll walk away with not only a clearer understanding of your body, but also a roadmap to reclaim the intimacy and vitality that are still very much within reach. No pressure, no shame, just honest, practical steps forward. And make sure you don't miss the final truth, because it may be the one that finally brings everything together. A shift not just for your health, but for your whole sense of self. So if you're ready, let's begin with the first truth. It's one that challenges everything we used to believe about how intimacy should happen and replaces it with something far wiser. Secret number 1: spontaneity is overrated. Intimacy now needs preparation. There's something nostalgic about the way intimacy used to be. A glance across the room, a quiet moment on the couch, and before you knew it, things just happened. But if you've passed your 60s, you may have started to notice those moments don't come as easily anymore. And when they do, they often come with pressure, doubt, or even disappointment. But here's what most men don't realize: that shift isn't failure, it's biology, and learning to work with it instead of against it can open the door to a deeper, more fulfilling kind of connection. By the time we reach our 60s, our testosterone levels have dropped significantly. Blood vessels narrow. The nervous system becomes a little less responsive. The body needs more time to warm up, both physically and emotionally. Think of your younger days like a gas stove. You just flicked it on, and there was fire. Now you're working with a charcoal grill. It still cooks just fine, but it takes time, patience, and care to get that heat going. And without that preparation, what should be a joyful experience can quickly turn into frustration. Worse, if you try to push through without listening to your body, you may risk more than your confidence. Science backs this up. Studies from the University of Michigan show that men who approach intimacy with planning, whether that's through communication, physical relaxation, or even scheduling, reported higher satisfaction and fewer episodes of dysfunction. It's not about killing the romance. It's about keeping it alive in a way that matches the body you're living in today. One man, Leonard, told his doctor that every time he initiated intimacy, it felt like a gamble. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, and each failure chipped away at his self-esteem. But when he and his wife decided to treat intimacy more like a shared ritual, setting the mood, taking their time, even doing light breathing exercise beforehand, it changed everything. Not only did the pressure disappear, but Leonard said, "It felt like I was connecting with her again, not just trying to prove something." So how do you begin? In a real, practical way, start with time. Don't wait for the perfect moment to magically appear. Choose a time in the day when you're least tired, often late morning or early evening. After a light meal, fatigue and digestion can work against you. So timing really does matter. Then, create the atmosphere. Dim lights, soft music, or even a warm room can help the body relax and improve blood circulation. It doesn't have to be dramatic, just enough to shift the mood from everyday to intimates. Next, warm up physically, literally. A warm shower or bath increases blood flow and relaxes muscles, especially around the pelvis and lower back. Gentle stretching, especially of the hips and thighs, can also ease tension and improve flexibility, making everything feel more fluid and natural. And most importantly, talk. Let your partner know you'd like to be close. Ask how they feel when you bring them into the process. You're not just preparing your body, you're preparing connection. That's where real intimacy starts. If you're used to things just happening, this might feel strange at first, but give it time. Soon, the preparation itself becomes part of the pleasure. You're not less of a man for needing time. You're wiser for taking it. And speaking of wisdom, your body may already be trying to tell you something far more serious. Let's explore a truth that could be the first silent warning of a much bigger problem. Secret number 2. Your erections reveal your heart's future. It usually starts subtly. Things don't rise the way they used to. What used to take a minute now takes 10. Sometimes, it doesn't happen at all. And at first, most men blame stress, or age, or say, it's just a bad night. But what if it's not just about sex? One of the most overlooked truths in men's health is this: problems in the bedroom may be the very first warning sign of something far more dangerous. Problems with your heart. Here's why to have an erection. Your body needs a healthy blood supply, and the arteries leading to the penis are some of the smallest in your entire body. That means if there's even a slight narrowing from plaque or inflammation, you'll notice it there first, long before chest pain or shortness of breath ever appear. In fact, research from the Mayo Clinic has shown that men with consistent erectile dysfunction are up to 50% more likely to develop serious heart problems within 3 to 5 years. It's not just a coincidence, it's a silent alarm. Think of your erection like the canary in the coal mine. When that little bird stops singing, it's time to get out and investigate the air. Take the story of Alan. 67, he went to the doctor for what he called performance issues, but the doctor insisted on running a heart scan. What they found shocked him: over 90% arterial blockage. He was a walking heart attack, just days or weeks away from disaster. A simple concern about intimacy ended up saving his life. So what can you do if you're experiencing changes? First and most importantly, don't be embarrassed. Get checked. A visit to a cardiologist could reveal issues long before symptoms become severe. Ask for a coronary calcium scan or a carotid artery ultrasound, non-invasive tests that can detect early blockages. These are quick, painless, and in many places, affordable. Second, improve your circulation from the ground up. Daily walking just 20-30 minutes a day improves blood vessel flexibility and encourages nitric oxide production, which helps arteries dilate properly. If walking feels boring, try walking after meals with a partner or listening to calming music or a podcast. Third, reduce artery inflammation through diet. Cut back on fried foods, processed meats, and sugary drinks. Instead, focus on heart-friendly choices like olive oil, avocado, fatty fish, nuts, berries, and leafy greens. These foods don't just feed your heart, they feed your blood flow. 2, and finally, track your symptoms. Keep a little note: when do things feel better? When do they not? Often. Subtle patterns like sleep quality, blood pressure, or stress can reveal the triggers behind poor function. Remember, this isn't about shame, it's about signals. Your body is always speaking to you. The real question is, are you listening? And sometimes, the answer to better health isn't just in your arteries, it's in your relationships. Because there's another truth that most men miss, and it has nothing to do with performance at all. Secret number 3, real intimacy heals what medicine can't. There's a certain kind of silence that creeps into the house after 60. The kids are grown, the routines settle in, the noise of everyday life fades, and in that quiet, many men start to feel something else: distance, not just from others, but from themselves. You might still live with your partner, sleep in the same bed, eat the same meals, but emotionally, something feels missing. And the truth is, it's not always about sex. It's about connection. Real intimacy isn't just physical. It's about feeling seen, wanted, and safe. And when that kind of closeness fades, it doesn't just hurt the relationship, it slowly eats away at your mental and physical well-being. Studies from Harvard have shown that seniors who maintain strong emotional bonds with a partner have lower rates of depression, better sleep, and even stronger immune systems. That's not magic, it's biology. Because when you experience gentle touch, shared laughter, or simple emotional closeness, your body releases oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin lowers cortisol, your stress hormone, slows the heart rate, and triggers deep calm. You could take a dozen medications for sleep, anxiety, and blood pressure. But in many cases, one quiet evening of true closeness can do what pills can't. Let me tell you about Henry. He was 71, widowed for years. He said he didn't need anyone, just his books, his routines, and his silence. But over time, he became withdrawn, stopped sleeping well, felt tired all the time. It wasn't until a neighbor, a woman his age, started joining him for tea every Friday that things shifted. No romance, no pressure, just presence. A hand resting on his, shared stories, soft laughter. Within a few months, his energy returned. He began sleeping through the night. And most importantly, he smiled again. So how can you rebuild intimacy, especially when it feels unfamiliar or awkward? First, redefine what intimacy means. It's not always about intercourse. It can be a back rub, a warm foot soaked together, a walk hand in hand, even making tea while talking about something that matters. Don't underestimate the power of being present fully, without distraction. Second, create space for emotional safety. That means showing up without needing to perform or fix anything. Just listening, asking how they feel, or saying, honestly, I miss being close to you. I want to share more moments like we used to. Third, if physical closeness is difficult, take small steps. Sit closer on the couch. Rest your hand gently on their back. Share a long hug. These little gestures tell the nervous system you're safe. You are wanted. You are not alone. And if you live alone, intimacy can still exist. Reconnect with old friends. Join a group or activity where conversation flows. Sometimes, just having someone remember your name and ask how you're doing is enough to nourish the spirit. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to open the door a little. Because while medications treat symptoms, intimacy reaches deeper. It heals the human heart in ways science still doesn't fully understand. And speaking of healing, there's a hidden force that often pulls us away from true connection, and most men don't even realize how much damage it's doing. Secret number 4, porn, warps your brain, then destroys real pleasure. At first, it feels harmless. You're alone, curious, maybe even a little bored. You turn on a video, and for a moment it feels good, safe, no pressure, no conversation, just stimulation. But over time, something strange happens. You find yourself less excited by real touch. Real connection starts to feel awkward. It's easier to be alone with a screen than to face the quiet vulnerability of being with someone who sees all of you. That's not just a feeling. That's your brain slowly being rewired. Pornography, especially when used regularly, trains the brain to expect extreme levels of dopamine. Every new clip, every scene switch, creates a reward loop that's unnatural. The brain becomes conditioned to novelty, to instant gratification, to fantasy that real life can't match. It's like pouring sugar on your nervous system every day. Eventually, even the sweetness of real fruit tastes bland. Neurologists have found that long-term porn use leads to dopamine desensitization, which means your brain's pleasure center becomes less responsive to normal, healthy stimulation. It doesn't just affect sex drive, It affects motivation, mood, and connection. Some men even report erectile dysfunction with real partners, despite no physical problem. That's how powerful this rewiring can be. Let me tell you about Tom. He was 66, divorced, and lonely. He told himself porn was harmless comfort, but after years of watching, he noticed he no longer felt interested in women he met, even when someone showed genuine interest. He felt nothing. It wasn't until he stopped watching for 30 days that he began to feel again. Curiosity, ishkidi, attraction, emotion, his words. It was like fog lifting from my mind. So how do you start untangling your brain from porn's grip? First, acknowledge the habit without shame. This isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. Understand that your brain isn't broken, it's just learned the wrong pattern. And like any habit, it can be retrained. Second, reduce exposure gradually. If you watch daily, start by skipping every other day. If you watch for an hour, try limiting to 15 minutes. Then slowly replace that time with something that stimulates your senses: reading, walking, listening to music, or even just breathing exercises. The brain needs a new rhythm to replace the old. Third, reconnect with real touch at your pace. A warm bath, massaging your own hands or feet, sleeping with a heavy blanket. These are physical sensations that don't involve fantasy, but remind your body that real comfort exists in the present moment. And finally, be patient. Many men feel a dip in desire. At first, it's like your body is recalibrating. That's normal. Over time, your brain becomes more responsive to natural connection again. And when that happens, even a gentle kiss or quiet conversation can feel like fireworks. You deserve real pleasure, real connection, and most of all, real peace. And now that we've talked about what pulls us away from ourselves, let's talk about what brings us back. Not just emotionally, but biologically. A surprising daily act that protects your prostate and helps you live longer. Secret number 5, prostate health depends on staying sexually active. There's a quiet organ inside your body that rarely gets talked about until it starts causing problems. The prostate, small, hidden, but incredibly important for every man over 60. You may have heard about prostate issues: enlargement, inflammation, even cancer. But here's what many doctors wish their patients knew earlier. Regular sexual activity can protect your prostate. That's right. Ejaculation isn't just about pleasure, it's about maintenance. Think of your prostate like a small pump station. Its job is to produce fluid that helps sperm move and survive. If that system stays idle for too long, fluid builds up, pressure increases, and inflammation can begin to set in. It's a bit like leaving a garden hose coiled up and full of water for weeks. Eventually, something starts to smell, clog, or leak. Multiple studies, including one from Harvard, found that men who ejaculated 21 times or more per month had a 33% lower risk of developing prostate cancer than those who did so 4 to 7 times per month. The explanation: regular emptying keeps the gland flushed, reducing stagnation, inflammation, and the buildup of potential carcinogens. It's not about being hypersexual, it's about keeping your system moving, just like walking helps your heart, or brushing helps your teeth. So how can you support your prostate in real, everyday ways? First, make peace with solo activity. If you're not currently in a relationship, or if intimacy isn't frequent, healthy self-pleasure is not shameful. It's preventive. Keep the rhythm gentle and relaxed. Once or twice a week is a good start if you've been inactive. Second, stay hydrated and reduce bladder pressure. Your prostate sits just below the bladder. When you're dehydrated, urine becomes concentrated and acidic, irritating the gland. Aim for 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, spaced out through daylight hours, and don't hold your urine too long. Frequent emptying supports both bladder and prostate health. Third, limit foods that inflame the gland. Highly processed meats, alcohol, excessive dairy, and spicy food can worsen symptoms of BPH, benign prostate enlargement. Instead, Lean toward anti-inflammatory foods like tomatoes rich in lycopene, green tea, pumpkin seeds, and fatty fish. And finally, consider light pelvic floor exercises. Strengthening the muscles around the prostate supports urinary control and circulation. Simple moves like gently clenching your pelvic muscles while seated holding for 5 seconds. Then releasing can improve function over time without any equipment. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about keeping the engine running. Because when your prostate is healthy, everything downstream, your energy, your comfort, your confidence flows better too. And while we're on this topic of confidence, there's a dangerous lie. Many older men believe that they must prove their masculinity at any cost. But sometimes, trying too hard to perform like a young man can end in tragedy. Secret number 6, the bedroom is not a battlefield. Stop proving you're young. There's a quiet pressure that many men carry even into their 60s, 70s, and beyond. A voice that whispers, "You've still got it. Show them." And in that pressure, many push their bodies to prove a point to themselves or to someone else. But the truth is, the bedroom was never meant to be a battlefield. Trying to perform like you used to by sheer force, ignoring signals, overusing enhancement pills, pushing through pain or fatigue is not strength, it's risk. And for older men, that risk can be deadly. Here's what's happening inside it with age. The cardiovascular system becomes more fragile, arteries stiffen, blood pressure may rise, the heart becomes less efficient at handling sudden spikes in demand, and sexual activity, especially when fueled by strong stimulants, creates a sudden surge in heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen demand. If the system isn't ready, it's like revving a tired engine at full throttle. Something gives. Doctors have documented cases where older men experience stroke, heart attack, or even sudden cardiac death during or shortly after sex, especially when combining physical effort with over-the-counter performance drugs or alcohol. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's tragic and often preventable. One major study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that men over 60 with underlying heart disease are at significantly higher risk of cardiac events during intense physical exertion, including sexual activity, especially when they are sedentary most of the time. In fact, the research showed that men with known heart conditions who engage in sudden, vigorous sex without preparation are nearly 3 times more likely to suffer a cardiac event than those who stay physically active and build up their endurance gradually. The problem isn't sex itself, it's unprepared, high-intensity exertion on a system that's already strained. Another 2021 review in the Journal of Sexual Medicine also highlighted the dangers of unregulated use of erectile dysfunction drugs in older men, particularly those with cardiovascular risk. The report urged doctors to screen patients thoroughly before prescribing, especially when other medications like nitrates or beta blockers are in use. So how can you reclaim your sexuality without turning it into a test? First, check in with your body before anything else. Ask yourself, am I rested? Have I eaten too much? Is my heart racing already? If you wouldn't jog up a steep hill right now, don't expect your body to handle intense intimacy either. Choose times when your body feels calm and steady. Late mornings, for instance, are often ideal. Second, be extremely cautious with the enhancement pills. Never take anything without doctor supervision, especially if you're on medication for heart conditions or high blood pressure. Even so-called natural boosters can dangerously spike blood flow or interfere with circulation. If you feel flushed, dizzy, or short of breath, stop immediately. That's not heat, it's a red flag. Third, shift your mindset. You're not here to perform like a 25-year-old. You're here to connect, to enjoy, to feel alive in a way that honors where your body is now. Gentle touch, eye contact, slow rhythm, deep breathing. These aren't less than, they're wiser, richer, and safer. And finally, stretch and warm up lightly. Sex is still a form of physical exertion. Take 5 to 10 minutes before intimacy to stretch your lower back, thighs, and hips. This reduces strain and improves comfort, especially if joints or muscles are stiffer with age. Being intimate doesn't mean proving anything. It means sharing something with tenderness, care, and wisdom. Because real strength at this age doesn't shout, it listens. And sometimes, what it hears is even more important than performance. It's the reminder that your health, your pace, your peace come first. Now, let's explore the final truth, one that ties everything together. A reminder that your sexuality, in many ways, reflects the story of your whole life. Secret number 7, your sexual health reflects your whole life. Sometimes, we look at sex like it's a separate part of life, just one function among many. But as you age, you start to realize the way you feel in moments of intimacy isn't just about sex. It's a mirror, a reflection of how you eat, how you move, how you sleep, how you feel about yourself, and how you connect with others. Sexual health after 60 is no longer about performance. It's about integration, the sum of everything you do and everything you are. Think about it. Your hormones reflect your nutrition. Your blood flow reflects your activity. Your desire reflects your emotional state. Your confidence in the bedroom often mirrors your confidence in life. When something feels off sexually, it's often not isolated. It's a signal that your body needs rest, that your heart needs care, that your mind needs connection. And when you start tending to those things quietly, gently, you don't just improve your intimacy, you improve everything. There's solid research behind this. A large study from the University of Chicago found that older adults who maintain a regular sex life report higher overall satisfaction with aging, greater self-esteem, lower levels of loneliness, and even better mobility and health markers. In other words, a healthy sex life isn't just the result of good health, it helps create it. So what can you do if this mirror is showing cracks? Start by focusing not on the symptom, but the system. Are you sleeping well? Most testosterone is produced during deep sleep. Are you moving daily? Even a short walk boosts circulation, clears your mind, and reduces inflammation. Are you eating real food, things that grow, swim, or walk rather than packages and powders? Then, go inward. Ask yourself, am I carrying resentment? Am I afraid of being close again? Sometimes it's not the body that needs support, it's the soul. And finally, forgive yourself for the seasons you've missed. Maybe it's been years. Maybe you've avoided connection because it felt too painful or too far gone. But it's never too late to return to your body, to return to presence, to rebuild slowly, kindly what was always yours. Sex is not youth. It's not performance. It's expression of vitality, care, joy, courage, and love. Tend to it like you would a beloved garden, not with force, but with consistency, attention, and patience. Because when your whole life is in harmony, intimacy doesn't have to be worked for. It blooms quietly, beautifully, naturally. If you've made it to the end of this video, I want to pause for a moment, not to teach, not to advise, but simply to honor the quiet courage it takes to look at these truths. Because facing changes in your body, your desire, your confidence, it's not easy. Especially when the world around you keeps pretending that aging is something to hide, or fight, or be ashamed of. But here, we don't believe in that. We believe aging is not the end of intimacy, it's the beginning of a deeper one where connection matters more than performance, where tenderness holds more power than speed, where love is measured not by frequency, but by presence. The truths we've explored today weren't about fixing you. They were about freeing you from unrealistic expectations, from silence, from shame. You've earned the right to slow down, to feel fully, to choose differently. And that choice to care for your body with wisdom instead of willpower is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can make. So here's what I hope you carry with you. You don't need to chase the man you were. You need to support the man you are. If you feel seen in any part of this video, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Whether it's something that resonated, a habit you've embraced, or even a challenge you're still walking through, this space is yours. 2. You never know who might read your words and feel less alone. And if this video offered something meaningful to you, consider subscribing, not for me, but for you, because we'll keep showing up with stories, science, and soulful reminders to help you live not just longer, but more fully. Until then, take care of yourself, speak kindly to your body, and remember your worth isn't measured by what you can do, but by how deeply you can connect, feel, and love. You are still capable of intimacy, you are still worthy of softness, you are still becoming.